Hi everyone, Kyle Gears here, Senior Customer Success Manager for Asset Managers at YCharts. Today we're going to be talking about inflation and how to analyze and communicate it throughout the YCharts platform. The easiest way to pull up inflation is to simply type in US inflation in the search box. The two primary data points that you're going to want to target underneath economic indicators are going to be US inflation rate and US core inflation. U.S. inflation rate is going to be the headline data point, whereas core inflation excludes energy and food. We'll stick with the headline data and use U.S. inflation rate for the example. That's going to go ahead and bring me into its overview page once I click on it. It's going to tell me all the basic info on that metric, stating that the figure that we're looking at is actually taking into account the percent change in CPI year over year. So that's where we get that 4.99% from as its latest value. You can also link to additional reports for data points that come out on that same CPI report. So more granular, more specific components of CPI are also going to be available through that method. But for today's example, we're going to take a look at our fundamental chart and overlay CPI versus some traditional inflation hedges. So we go to our securities search box here. We'll start out with SPY to account for equities, AGG for bonds. We'll also toss commodities and real estate into the mix. So we'll use those four ETFs as proxies for the asset classes. Next, we want to go ahead and add that inflation figure. So we'll go ahead and add, once again, US inflation. We'll go ahead and find it under economic data and choose US inflation rate. It comes in as the pink line on the chart, but get a bit of a funky number there. And that's because it's showing the percent change of the percentage. But I want to get that back to the original format. So I'm going to hop over to my annotate tab here, choose my annotation options, and force the original data format. I want to see the actual figure, not the percent change of the figure. So that looks a lot more in line with what I'd expect. The other thing we can do as far as annotations go is choose the minimum and maximum. It'll actually plot out and clearly display where that figure was at its highest and lowest over the period that we have selected. So a lot easier to read and understand. So you see the dotted lines up top. We're at the highest point over the last year, and then you can also see the low there down at the bottom. What's really interesting with the economic data is trying to figure out how you can apply that to past circumstances. So within this chart, I can actually scale it back to around 2006 or so. So let's just use that as a starting point, take it through 2020, just to zoom out and get the big picture, sort of pick my spots here as it relates to inflation and how to analyze it. So the last time we had a similar run, looks like, was back here around end of July 2009. We actually saw a little bit of deflation, so negative 0.21% here, and it looks like things topped out right here around the end of September in 2011. So I want to capture that period and see how these different asset classes performed. What I would do for that is I'd choose a custom date range. So we'll start with July 31st, 2009 as the start date. And then once again, things sort of topped out at the end of September 2011. So we'll use September 30th, 2011 as the endpoint. And now I'm looking at a significant increase in inflation and what these asset classes did. So real estate actually outperformed significantly, whereas equities, bonds, and commodities were right around the same ballpark. So hopefully this example is helpful, sparks some ideas as it relates to inflation, analyzing, communicating that with clients. If you have any questions, if there's anything we can help you out with, please feel free to reach out to your sales contact or support contact at YCharts. Thanks for joining me today. Have a great day.